Hey guys, some of you in that he was comforting me in that moment, and I knew that. And I knew that God wanted so badly for me to have a personal relationship with him and to truly walk with him and obey him. And at that point, I was really young. I was not ready. I was in a very different mindset, and I didn't take that chance to truly follow him and become that follower of Christ that he truly calls us to be. That didn't come for many years later. And I would say that I still struggle sometimes with my faith, not necessarily believing in him, but what it means to truly obey God and what it truly means to walk in faith and walk as a godly woman. I know that a lot of people right now are grieving, and a lot of people right now are experiencing hopelessness and not knowing where to go from here. And with the climate of how everything is right now, I felt it was really important to share this story because I have noticed a huge wave of people on the internet talking about how they have felt this pull towards God and they have felt that God is calling them to him. And I just want to say that God is absolutely calling you, and he wants to pursue you so heavily, and he is pursuing you, and he wants to have that personal relationship, and he wants you to follow him. As they say, take up your cross and follow me. And I think it's important just to listen to your discernment. And if you're listening to this and you are curious about what it means to have faith, I would honestly ask God to give you that sign, to have him show you that he is pursuing you in a very real way, because he will show you. He showed me through music. Music is huge to me. I am very connected to music. So he definitely got my attention then with that exactly. So if you really want to know if he is pursuing you, if he loves you, ask him. He will show you in a big way, in your way that will be specific to you. Many years later, I found God, but it wasn't after me falling away many times and getting into things that I honestly shouldn't have gotten into. Because I have a very curious spirit, and it can definitely bite me in the butt. And it did. So I just want to share that if you are wanting a relationship with God, if you are curious about things, you can always ask me. You can always ask people around you that you know have a personal relationship with Christ. I am more than happy to answer any messages or comments that come my way about it. But God is absolutely pursuing you. He wants to know you. It doesn't matter what you've done in life. It doesn't matter what your past is. Nothing matters. He loves you so much unconditionally. And a lot of us on this earth don't know what unconditional love really means. We just see that people walk away from us when we make mistakes. And a lot of things are conditional because other people make it about them. But that's not the case with God. It's unconditional. He does not care what you come to him with. He just cares that you want to know him and really want to know him. So I hope this resonated with some of you. Have a good day.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely...
Okay, so I have a couple stories, but there's one main one that I will never forget. It will always freak me out. And it happened in my house when I was in high school. So I'll share the first story that led up to this main event, and then I'll talk about what really happened. So basically, I was in the 6th grade and I was having a sleepover with my friend, and I had no idea what a Ouija board was. No one's ever told me. This was early 2000s at this point. And I just wasn't educated on it. And so, of course, me being a 6th grader, thinking it was a board game, I'm like, yay, board game. Let's try something new, And so we were playing it. Nothing was really going on. We were asking some silly questions like, oh, who am I going to marry when I'm older, And it wasn't really saying a whole lot. But looking back on it, something that kind of freaks me out is when we asked who we were talking to, it went to a Z. And I'm not going to talk any further on that. If you know, you know. And So we went upstairs to go get some, water, some snacks, stuff like that. My parents asked me, what are you guys doing downstairs? And we say, we're playing the Ouija board. And my parents are like, nope, absolutely not. You are not playing that. Please stop doing that. And so we went downstairs, we closed it up. And what followed after that freaked me out. So we heard some voices that night, nothing crazy, honestly. It wasn't like the super dramatic thing. But for years, I started hearing voices. I started seeing some things like people calling out my name in the middle of the night. I saw something in my closet, just like random things here and there. I vividly remember when I was younger, this was middle school now. I don't remember the exact time, but my siblings were, young, and we were home alone. My parents were traveling that day. And so they were coming back home. We were alone. Our babysitter had left. And we all, for some reason, looked down to the right. And so that's where our hallway was. And we had a really long extended hallway. And then our parents' doorway was facing where that hallway was. And so we all look over at the same time. It was the weirdest thing. And we see this man, like this really, really tall man standing there. And all of us say nothing. And we see this man turn and walk down the hallway. And so I look at them and I'm like, did you see that? And they're like, yeah. And I don't know what made us do this, but we went throughout the house and started trying to find if there was a man in the house. And if you've seen any horror movies, it's definitely not what you're supposed to do. Like, don't do that. But for some reason, that was, the mindset at the time. And we searched everywhere. Nothing was there, So there was no man. And we start moving on knowing that, we had just seen some random dude in our house and he disappeared. And so for years after that, nothing crazy really happened. Again, sometimes I'd hear somebody walking in the house when I was home alone or like in the middle of the night, but I just ignored it, tried not to give it any mind. But this is where the main event happens. So my brother passed away when I was in high school, and he lived in Tennessee with, my other family. My parents are, not together. So that side of the family, told me the news, and I went out and, flew out for the funeral. And so the day after the funeral, when I was flying home, my stepmom had lost her keys. And I went into her bathroom. She sets things in weird places. So she told me to look in her bathroom, look in her closet just to see if she dropped it, try to find, where the keys are so we can leave and go to breakfast together before I have to get on the plane. And I don't know what it was, but I felt such a difference in the air. Like the atmosphere went cold. I can't describe it. But if you've experienced something like this, it's a very eerie feeling. I felt like I was isolated, even though there were 3 other people in the house, but I was alone in that room. And all of a sudden I felt like metaphorically cornered in the closet. And I heard my name being called with my brother's voice. And it's like time stopped. I knew it wasn't him because I thought that if it really was him, I wouldn't be freaked out. I wouldn't be feeling such a dark, gross feeling. Mind you, I'm already emotional because, I loved my brother and he had just passed away. And so hearing his voice was like weird. And it was emotional for me. And I ran out of that room because I felt like whatever was talking to me was not him and it wasn't safe. So I ran out, and my stepmom had been calling for me for 10 minutes and I didn't hear her. So literally, it's like time had stopped. So I told them about this at breakfast and they're like, oh, I wish he would talk to me. And I'm like, but it wasn't him. Like, this is the weird thing. It wasn't him, right? And so I go home, months go by, nothing happens. I'm grieving my brother, I'm sad. And I talk to him sometimes, at that point. I still do, but, at this, during this story, I was talking to him sometimes, and whatever it was that talked to me at my stepmom's house followed me to my house in Minnesota. So I was in Tennessee. That's where the first event happened. I'm back in Minnesota at my mom's house where, the Ouija board thing had happened. We're keeping that in mind. So I go to bed one night. I'm the only one that lives upstairs, right? And so that's where like the front door is. My bedroom at the time was right next to the front door. And so we had a staircase going downstairs, and that's where my parents and my siblings were. My mom would stay upstairs in the kitchen, dining room area until, sometimes later in the night, just getting projects done. She's a very crafty person. So I went to bed knowing that she was, kind of within the vicinity. I felt safe. And what I did was I always closed the doors and closed the blinds before I went to bed because, I'd experienced some things. I was a little freaked out. And I had already some nights experienced sleep paralysis. And, I was already kind of on edge about that. So close all the blinds, close the doors. And I had my radio on and I start, kind of dozing off, and my radio sounds slower and like distorted all of a sudden. And I'm like, something's about to happen. And it did. So I felt like I heard the doors opening, but I was like, no, I'm going crazy. Like there's nobody else that would be, but it was both doors, like my closet door and my door to my bathroom that I heard opening. And I'm like, there's not two people in my room. Like there's no way. And I didn't even hear my room door open, the main door. And so I can't get up. It's like I am, I'm in sleep paralysis. I can't do anything. I can't talk. I can't open my eyes. I can't move. And all of a sudden I feel myself getting up and I'm like, this isn't me. This isn't me. And so I feel myself get out of bed, but I don't feel like I'm in control of my own body. And I feel myself reach my hand out for my door. And I feel the doorknob. I start, opening my door. And all of a sudden I hear my brother's voice come from my bathroom and him saying, Maddie, I need to talk to you. And I don't know how, but somehow, some way I was able to talk in that moment. And I'm like, no, get out. Like, I know this isn't you. I don't want to hear it. And I don't know what it was, but it was like, okay, I'll leave. Like, okay, you'll leave. Okay. But here I am, like kind of traumatized because, it's my brother's voice again. And I'm still grieving. Like this is only a couple months after he passed. And so I'm like, well, what if it was my brother? And I carried on that guilt for so long thinking like, well, what if it was him? But it was that creepy feeling again. And I'm like, you know what? If this is really my brother, there is no way that he would do this to me, that he would freak me out, that he would try to do all this stuff. Like, there's just no way. I feel like he would come and try to peacefully talk to me and have a conversation. But, that's a whole other conversation. And so I opened my eyes, after I muster enough courage, I open my eyes and all my doors are open, all of them. And nobody was upstairs. My mom is already fast asleep at this point. It was midnight. And I know this story sounds crazy, but this really happened and it still freaks me out to this day. And I don't know.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another paranormal story time. I stitched this exact video a year ago now, and I talked about a really scary experience I had with my brother after he had passed away with what we would call a familiar spirit or a mimic, depending on what you believe in. I will say as a side note and a warning, I am a millennial. I don't know how to edit these videos very well. Bear with me. Thank you. I am not even kidding when I say for the last year, almost every day, someone has commented on my videos and asked for an update about if I had any confirmation from my brother, if I have had any closure at all, what's gone on, things like that. And I'm here to say that I do have an update and I am actually ready to share now. I will say for the past couple months, I haven't been doing story times because I had a really bad mental health episode. And when I started this series, I didn't know some of what I was getting myself into, and I wasn't totally ready to open that door yet. But I can fully and confidently say now that I am ready and I'm willing, and I would be more than happy to go on this journey with you guys. So without further ado, I will tell you the update that some of y'all have been waiting for. I do have a positive ending to this. This whole experience did give me a lot of closure, but I did work with a woman who happened to be a medium, and she had no knowledge of my brother or his passing. But she came up to me one day while we were at work and said, there is a man that is trying to get your attention through me because he knows that I can talk to you and kind of be the buffer between you both so that you can get the message. And I was willing and ready to accept whatever message it was from whoever it was. And she started describing what his personality was like, the things that he loved, things like that. And the one thing that really stuck out to me about what she had said was he really loved Halloween and wearing masks, and he loved chasing you around the house with those Halloween masks and scaring the crap out of you. And that's exactly what my brother did. He had so much fun doing that. He loved Halloween so much. And funny enough, now my daughter loves Halloween too. She started telling me that he was presenting himself as a little bit younger and asked to see a picture to verify that that's the person that she was seeing and talking with. And I showed her a picture of him right before he had passed. And she said, no, that's not really what he looks like. And so I pulled up another picture of when he was in high school. And that's how he was appearing to her. So she had said that he kind of hit me upside the head and was like, why did you do that? Like certain things in my life. And I'm like, I'm just learning. I'm just a girl, you know? But then he had also told her to tell me that he had met my daughter before she had come to me and into this world. And I had begun crying at that point because all I had wanted was for my brother to meet my daughter and to know her. And so when I knew that he had met her before she came here and said how much he loved her and she was amazing and she'd grow up to be an amazing woman and that she would be a positive light in this world, I still like get teary-eyed over it now. I'm sure you can kind of hear it in my voice, but I was just so amazed that he was coming to me and telling me that. And he had also said that he was looking over us and he knew I was buying a house, which I wasn't really telling many people at the time that I was looking for a house to buy either. So where I'm sitting right now is the house that I bought. And he had said that after I move in, watch for lights to go off. And that will be my confirmation that he's with us. So a couple weeks had passed. I kind of kept that in the back of my mind, like he's going to show somehow that he's here when he's ready to do so. And one day, my daughter was super young, couple months old. She was playing in her little playpen area with all of her toys. And a lot of those toys were, you had to touch them in order to activate them and it to make noise, things like that. We walked across the house and I had started hearing all these toys go off in the kitchen. And those are the ones that were touch activated. I had a really calm feeling about it. I'd kind of figured that it might be him. And I just felt really good about the situation. And the next day, same woman came up to me and said, did you get the confirmation? He said that he wants you to know that what you saw yesterday was him. And I said, yes, I got it. And so she's like, he wants me to remind you again that he's watching over you and your daughter and he really loves her and he really loves you too. And not to feel bad about not being able to hug him before he passed away. So something to note is that something I've always beat myself up about is when I last saw my brother, I didn't get out of the car to hug him. And I always regretted that, even though in the moment I was like a dumb teenager and I was just like, ugh, I'm not getting out of the car, you know? And he had told me he loved me and he couldn't wait to see me again. And then a couple weeks later, he was gone. And I'd always regretted that. And he told me not to and that it's okay. And it made me feel a little bit better. So to me, this gave me a lot of closure. It made me feel better about the situation, and it allowed me to kind of move forward with my life and know that he was present with us and, you know, with the rest of my family, stuff like that, wherever they are. And I really hope you guys enjoy this update. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I will see you in the next paranormal update. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back to another paranormal story time. I know I haven't really come on here and made many paranormal videos lately. That is because I have been going through kind of a huge spiritual battle lately, and I wanted to wait until I felt like it was kind of settled down to be able to talk about it and share with you guys what's been going on and just all the crazy stuff that's been happening in my house. If you're new here, I have 2 videos pinned on my profile that do explain when all of this started happening in my life, when I first started experiencing paranormal activity, when I started to be able to see things, hear things, what have you. Basically an introduction to the spiritual realm. I also never tell my stories in order. This is the latest story that's been happening in my life, and it's been happening over the last couple weeks, and it's actually been kind of freaky, and it's involved my daughter as well. So my daughter for the last couple weeks has been mentioning that she's been seeing a pirate around the house. She has kept looking in different corners of the bedroom, pointing at the same areas, saying that she sees a figure and that she sees something that she calls a pirate. And she always tells it to go away, and she says it's scary. Mind you, my daughter's only 2 years old. She can only explain so much to me, but this pirate has come up every day the past couple weeks, and she has never stopped talking about it even to this day. After she started mentioning this pirate, I started feeling really uneasy around the house. I started hearing things. I ended up seeing a man outside of my shower staring at me and then disappearing. It was a very creepy sight. I also started hearing footsteps down the hallway. Nothing was there, and it was just unsettling, to say the least. So let's fast forward to election night. I'd been feeling really uneasy going towards that day. I was feeling a lot of spiritual warfare around me, especially in my house. And that night I actually got 8 different episodes of sleep paralysis. And the final time that I got sleep paralysis, I could not wake up, get up. I couldn't snap myself out of it like I had been. It's like something was holding me down and making me see what it wanted me to see. So basically, I had this vision while I was in sleep paralysis where I was looking at my 2 mirrors. So when you're looking from my bed, there's a door going to my bathroom. You can see the mirror right when you open the door, and then there's a mirror right next to that where it's facing my window this way, but you can see it very clearly from my bed. And I was looking at both of those mirrors, and I started seeing demons crawl out of them at the same time, and they were trying to come after me, and they were trying to basically attack me and take me with them. I essentially got out of this dream with a huge fight. It took a lot of energy to snap myself out of that, to get out of that energy, but it also took a ton of prayer and a ton of basically reading Psalm 91 around my house for that feeling to go away. It really would not go away easily, and I knew something was taunting me, and it was doing a great job, quite frankly. So after this had already happened, one of my friends that I had from Washington a couple years ago, we haven't talked in, honestly, a couple years, and she messaged me on TikTok and said, "Maddie, I hope you're okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so worried for you. I had this feeling the past couple days that I had to message you, but I was going to message you on Instagram because I have you on there, but for some reason, something told me to message you on TikTok." So just for reference, it's funny that she said this in the message, and there's no way she would have known this, but my messages on Instagram weren't really working. I wasn't getting notifications, and I wasn't seeing any of them. So for her to message me on TikTok, I saw it right away, and I was able to read her message immediately. And I thought that was kind of weird, but I read on, and she said that she had a bad feeling that something was trying to come after me, and that she felt like someone that is good at witchcraft, I guess you could say, was trying to cast things against me and my family. So that freaked me out, to say the least, because a lot of things have been happening. Mind you, the pirate, the spiritual warfare, a bunch of things happening around the house that I couldn't explain. There were a lot of things dropping everywhere, like flying across the room, very poltergeisty, which I've always avidly known that if things get to that level, you know that it's definitely ampled up and it feels like it can continue on and you really have to protect your space. So I started cracking down on protecting my space and knowing that someone, honestly, that practices witchcraft might be trying to hurt me and my daughter. Now, with all of this to say, I don't know who could have been doing this. I don't want to assume that it could be a specific person at all, so I'm not going to. But I will say that you really need to be careful with who you talk to and who you hang out with. I will say that you need to protect your space and your family as best as you can, and fight the fight, because this stuff is not easy and it's not fun. And I will say that it has been one of the hardest fights I've ever had, and it was in my own home. I felt kind of hopeless because I felt like I couldn't protect my daughter the way that I wanted to and I needed to, even though it wasn't necessarily my fault. I wasn't opening myself up to those things. These things can happen, especially when you open yourself up on the internet and when you meet people and you don't always know their background or what their intentions are with talking to you and wanting to get to know you. I will say we're still fighting, still trying to make our home safe, but I have avenues that I am going down to make sure that that happens and that our house will be a fortress of peace and of light and of God. But I just wanted to share this story because it's been so scary, especially that dream that night. And a lot of other people have had prophetic dreams lately, and it's been syncing up a lot. A lot of the people that are having these dreams, all of us have kind of been having similar experiences. And it makes me feel like something big is going to happen, especially with some of the events that are taking place right now, if you know what I mean. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked my video, please like it, please comment, let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions, I'm always open to hearing things. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.
আমি স্বপ্ন দেখছি অনেক খারাপ স্বপ্ন।
এলাকার মানুষজন কয় উড়ি নাকি পাগল।
উড়ি ময়না ময়না। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ডাক্তার সাহেব। ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম। দুটো টান দেন। কিছু কিছু সময় বদলাইতে হয়।
ভালোবাসাটা দিলাও না, ভালোবাসাটা নিলাও না।
তুই হলো ছোট পাগল, আমি হলাম বড় পাগল।
আলো আধারের ভিড়ে আমি হারিয়ে যাই।
এই বয়সে আমার তিনটা বউ মরে গেল, তাও আবার 1 বছরের মধ্যে। একটা বউরে আমি বাঁচাতে পারলাম না।
কেমনে বাঁচবো? নাম কি? বাঁচে না বেগম। আরে যে তার নামের মধ্যে বাইচে থাকে না, এ জিন্দেগি করে কেমনে বাঁচবো ভাই?
এই শয়তান কথাটা একটু শান্তি মতো মরতে বললাম না আমি?
কি মাইয়ারে পেটে ধরছিলাম আমি?
আমি কি করব? আমি তো 3বার মরতে গেছিলাম। আল্লাহ আমারে মরণের ভিসাটা বন্ধ করে থুয়ে দিছে, আমারে নেয়ও না। তুই আরেকটা বিয়ে কর।
আপনার গ্রামে কি ভালো মাইয়া আছে?
বউ খাউরা।
মাসে মাসে তার বউ যায় মরি, ও মরি। আরে পাগলা যাওয়া খেলা খুঁজবে এখন আরেকটা পরি।
এই বাড়িতে 2টা মেয়ে আছে,
দেখে তো আমি একটি মনে হচ্ছে খোঁজ নিমু।
আপনারা কারে খুঁজেন?
আমরা লোক সরকারি কাজে আসছি।